Hello friends, welcome back to the Crypto Technical Analysis channel here with me, Rocky Outcrop, your pal, where even a broken clock is right twice a day. So the current price is $7,047, and I can close that tab off for now. And just so you know that this is on logarithmic at the minute, by the way, because I know that when I close the tab over, it's hidden behind my body and you can't quite tell. And we have this bar pattern drawn in here, this this line drawn in here, where you can see that the prices came up, bumped, came down, came up here, and we've come up above the line after the bump section, and then you would hope to have a run section here. And we've been talking about this for a while, and we discussed the possibility of whether or not this was valid in videos back when Twitter people started talking about it, and and I think it's just got to the point now where you could start looking to see whether or not it's valid or not. And what you need to see happen is an uptake in the volume over here as we see an actual rise to the upside. And well, hey, you know, with or without this line here, we can see that the 50 simple moving average is coming right in here. This is the daily chart, by the way, and there's a red dot just there. That's the 50 simple moving average, this red dotted line, which you may or may not be able to see. I'll just hide the trend line for that bar thing actually. Which one was it? Thank you. Right. Okay. So the 50 simple moving average just there. You can see that was kind of just where that line was previously before it hit it. It's sort of 6,900, and that's where the prices have come down to so far, kind of more or less today. Close enough is close enough in order to sort of say that we've maybe tested that, and that would be this kind of the bullish case for us. Because overall, what are we looking at in terms of the shape of this thing? Well, you know, if it dropped another chunk down here, you'd be looking kind of reversely pattern style, almost like a head and shoulders, and you could be coming down to this bottom of this channel where the previous low was. We'd be hitting in lower lows with a lower high, all that sort of stuff, should that kind of fail that pattern at this point. And if you're going in then to go up from it, then you could say, yeah, we were supported by it and come up, and this was not actually the high. This was all just part of the overall upward movement, and we came in and we set a higher high, and you'd hope to see that up above that horizontal blue serrated line there at 7,450. And right now where we are is kind of sandwiched between the two moving averages, the 55 EMA and the 50 SMA. We're above the 21 EMA on the daily, which is always good to see, kind of, you know, as a sort of shorter term indicator of what way the trend is going. And we haven't spent a great deal of time underneath it over the last since, you know, in April, so that's all been quite good in terms of how the trend is going. But let's take a look then, I suppose, at a couple other things and see if there's anything else that kind of jumps out at us. Actually, in terms of just looking at the moving averages and whatnot, I think this is kind of neat to see that you don't really often see. You know, it's kind of neat to see the 200 simple running along right at the bottom of that channel for us as well in the 4-hour time frame. So if you're kind of curious about that and this golden cross that happened on the 4-hour time frame, where you got the 50 simple crossing over the 200 simple, where we are just now is we're being kind of in and around that area, sort of being supported, you could say, by that 50 simple moving average. Of course, that's at that 7,000 price point, so you know, there's various things going on there, as well as pretty much all the moving averages coming in around that area. And above us, we've got this sort of 7,150 area, sort of the yesterday's title of the video. We know that that's a fairly crucial area. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, today is, of course, the start of the week, and we didn't really discuss the Bitcoin, not Bitcoin dominance, this is the right one, yeah, the CME chart in yesterday's video, but we talked about it on Saturday and Friday about whether or not you'd be looking for a gap. The 24-hour chart, you can see that there was no gap here from where we opened up over the weekend. Really, yeah, there's no gap. Just we come up above the Friday's price action and come back down below it, but we stayed. You know, there was no gap there. In terms of the 4-hour time frame, I think maybe there might have been one It's a tiny little gap here was formed, and of course that's been closed off like immediately. So you know that's the sort of the current situation there. And in terms of the 4 hour time frame here, we are in CMEs looking at we're just above the 50 simple, and the CMEs are quite good for looking at the moving averages too, given the difference between the CMEs because they close over the weekend. They've got some time off, you know, so the numbers actually work out differently, so they're positioned slightly differently. And yeah, but anyway, we're above the 50 and we're above the 200 on this 4 hour time frame. Looking over towards the 24 hour and asking as well, did we actually get a golden cross or anything over here? And we didn't. The last cross on the 200 and the 50 was back here in December 2019 with the death cross as it happens, by the way. So it's kind of interesting to see that the difference, the way that they work, and just I mean we've spoken about this before on the channels, but it's good to bring it back up again. And yeah, so that was the areas that we marked in as well in terms of looking for a gap, and we filled all that. And incidentally, we filled the other previous 4 hour time frame gap as well here in today's price action so far. You might be interested in knowing as well. So we can get rid of that box because we had a 4 hour gap from over there. So that's kind of done. So in terms of the immediacy in terms of gaps is all sort of taken care of. Whereas this chart looking at the minute, and we're just below these two major sort of moving average areas, not moving average, Fibonacci retracement areas there, above the 21 and below the 55 on the daily, and obviously coming in at this area and opening and closing above this 7,400 area where you have this moving average, the Fibonacci retracement lines and whatnot. You'd be coming in and testing the 55. You'd also be looking to be setting higher highs and continuing up the upward trend. Should that not happen, then you've got lower. It's either going to be consolidation here or else a downward sort of trend here, depending on how this sort of shapes up, going past the sort of 6,700 point, which is the sort of 6,666 area we spoke about in yesterday's video and stuff like that. So anyway, what about the oscillators? We're going to look at them. And see. So in terms of the daily time frame, of course, versus this is still lower than over here. We've not got that high in yet that people will be looking for. Need to see the prices going up above 7,200 and 7,400 actually, really, to get the higher high on the daily. So just to be aware of. So obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice, as I say in every video, and all that sort of jazz. But be wary, you know, I'm careful taking longs above that, for long in it at 7,200, for instance, looking up to try towards this area when there's obviously potential for profit taking and stuff like that, and coming in at these areas that we've identified already, and all that sort of stuff, if that's what you're to be doing. And yeah, let's see, there's nothing there yet in terms, you know, we can only look back to the past here in terms of looking for a divergence on the 24-hour time frame just now. So we'll go down to the 4-hour time frame and see, because over here in the 4-hour time frame we were considering whether or not we'd be able to get a higher high than all of this area, which we haven't done yet, of course, at 7,500. And where we're at just now, well, between this high and this high, if you call that highs, then there was no divergence really just there, but there was over here in the stochastics and the MACD, and things kind of so far have just gone sideways, I suppose. And are we seeing any? So really, that's just kind of things are just convergent there overall, but we've got this turnaround on the trend with this right at the 19 level. So we'll keep an eye out and see, I suppose, if this goes up and starts trending towards the upside, then of course we'd see the prices trending down to the downside as the strength of trend was increasing. But right now at these points, this is really where we'd be looking for it to kind of turn around that. If you wanted to be bullish and look towards getting higher highs on this, and of course you need to see the prices go up above and open and close above 7,270 or so on the daily time, on the 4-hour time frame, to be able to say, look, we've got higher highs coming in here, and just in terms of the immediacy of this thing, and that we're able to keep going up. But you know, there was a bit of divergence on some of these oscillators. We've seen it, so we're asking questions right in this level here where we are. And if we did go down to the bottom where this 200 simple is coming in at the bottom of this channel as well, if that's indeed going to be what we settle on and say that's the channel, then you're looking at that sort of 66666 area that we spoke about again as being your sort of crucial area, because you don't want to go down there, set in lower lows and continue this previous lower the trending downward trend on the 4-hour, because on the 24-hour time frame, as we spoke about earlier on, that would be putting you down back in here at this area where you'd be asking questions about lower lows on the daily time frame, and a downward shift in the trend, which is all too sort of familiar after having had things come up to specific areas where you could see retracements at, such as things like this 50% retracement level. So that's the sort of the negative case, and of course overall we can still kind of very much overall remain bullish on this thing. There are some sort of warning signs to be taken into consideration, in the sense that you know, we've not made this higher high yet here, and if we did make it, there's the potential for having a bearish divergence as that's happening, because there's not very much momentum towards the upside currently, just as we're looking at things so far. Of course, it's the start of the week, so don't need to get too carried away. And what else as well? This trend here, which so that throughout this entire upward trend that we've had, this sort of indicator of strength of trend with the DMI here down below, has just had this ADX going down and down the whole time, you know, and it continues to sink down the way. So suppose, of course, at some point we could see things turn around on this, but we just would hope that the prices were continuing to go up at that point, because if not, then the strength of trend could start to build as we're coming in, setting in these lower highs and stuff like that we're talking about. So that's the two mashed together, the bullish and the bearish outcomes really overall, because we've got easy enough targets to look to in terms of the 4-hour and the daily time frame, in terms of summarizing this thing, where you're looking up towards 7,400 or so. If you want to be looking at a daily time frame getting a higher high, on the way to doing that, you're looking at, of course, getting the prices up above 7,280, opening, closing up there at the median line of this sort of channel, and asking the question about getting bigger time frame highs then for the daily and on the 4-hour at this point. But you'd have to be looking to try and get this oscillators all to move up the way, and for this potential 4-hour trend oscillator to turn around the other direction. Bearing in mind there was a little bit of bearish divergence on the MACD down below, and the stochastics on the 4-hour time frame there as we were looking at it. And to the downside, if things do go to pot, 66666 is kind of your critical level, with 6,900 and 6,850, where we're seeing these things come in at like the 382 Fibonacci retracement, that 6,850 level we spoke about so many times, the 21 EMA at 6,900 or so, and the 50 at 6,850 or so. Those things, there's that sort of checkpoint A and then checkpoint B, and then get out of town. Or else turn around, who knows. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope I've given you some context for your trading today. Thanks very much for tuning in. It's been there hasn't been an awful lot to report, because things haven't changed very much in terms of the bigger term time frames and what we've been looking at over the last few weeks. So thank you so much for liking and subscribing and being part of the channel and the growth and all the rest of it, and I really appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next episode. I've been Rocky Outcrop. We've been Rocky Outcrop Positions. Like, follow, subscribe, all that jazz you've seen on YouTube before. I'll see you next time.